How do you know if a hypnosis session worked? How do you know if hypnosis worked? I am Chris Thompson.
I'm Mike Mandel.
We are here from Mike Mandel Hypnosis. We teach hypnosis all around the world and online primarily these days. And this is a common question that people ask. They go, well, how do I know if things worked? How do I know that my client actually feels better? Well, let's talk about it.
Well, everybody you work with, all of your clients want exactly the same thing. Whether their problems are fear of spiders or they're nervous driving or they have chronic pain, everyone wants to feel better.
And feelings are analog.
Right.
Every single feeling we have is analog in nature.
We can turn it up a bit. We can turn it down a lot. Turn it down a lot. Turn it down to zero.
Think about one of those light dimmer switches that you might find on a dining room wall. You know, you dial it up, the light gets brighter. You dial it down, it goes.
That's analog.
That's feelings. You can be sort of angry, or you can be like really freaking angry,
to kill someone. Yeah. So if we have feelings being analog, we're going to find out at the beginning of the session. We have to evaluate, we measure it by asking what the SUDs are.
Which we have another video on, so we'll link to that here, or a card will show up or something. But SUDs are generally on a scale of 1 to 10 or 0 to 10. Or for kids, you can say, how big is the problem? 0 being the problem doesn't exist, and 10 is it's horrible.
And there's different examples of this. Like it could be the person has chronic anxiety, or they need more confidence. You're doing generative change.
Or cravings, or perhaps motivation. And so while emotions are analog, behaviors, though, they can be digital, right?
Right. Now, remember, digital is on or off, like a regular switch, whereas analog is the dimmer. So things like the example I heard years ago, a guy got his fishing rod out. And he said, it wasn't bass fishing season yet, but he just went down to the pond and he just did some casts to practice some casts. And the ranger comes along and says, hey, bass aren't in season. You can't fish. He said, oh, I'm not fishing. I'm just practicing. He said, you don't practice fishing. Either you're fishing or you're not. That is digital.
So the behavior was on in this case, and you can't just claim that you were only practicing.
Right.
Some examples of behaviors that might be on are things like a phobia response, right? So if you see a spider and you have the emotion, that feeling of, oh, I'm a little uncomfortable, you either do or do not have that phobic freak out response.
It's either on or off, but then there will be the analog aspect of the spider then in your hand is going to push it higher.
Right, and that's the emotion will get to a threshold, and then you'll have the behavior, maybe the phobic response, right? The other one we were thinking about is smoking. You're either smoking or you're not.
Right.
There's degrees of smoking, but yeah, you're either fishing or you're not.
And you're either a smoker or a non-smoker.
Yeah, you're either a fisher or you're a non-fisher, and how many fish you catch is, i.e. how many cigarettes you smoke, it's irrelevant to the fact that...
Yeah, it's like when someone says, oh, they're just a social smoker. I say, you know what I call that?
A smoker. Exactly.
Yeah.
And this can also be true with other habits, like, for example, if somebody's a binge eater and then purges after a meal, they're obviously doing that behavior or not doing that behavior, even though the behavior itself can exist on a spectrum.
Oh, for sure, for sure. So we need success criteria here to understand when is the problem solved. And to do this, we ask the magic question, which is, what do you want, or what would you like to have happen?
And then you evaluate at the end of the session, did the person get it? Or maybe not right at the end of the session, but at some point in the future after the session, what do they want? And did they get it? So remember, it's either a behavior that is digital in nature, and it's happening, or it's not happening, or it's an analog situation where we're dialing down feelings. So remember to use your SUD scale. And while you're here, you may as well click subscribe to our channel and ring that bell so you'll always be notified of our latest videos. And in the description underneath this video, you'll find a link to the Mike Mandel Hypnosis Academy where you can learn more from us and have a great time becoming awesome at hypnosis.
Yes, exactly.
We'll see you in the next video. Thanks again, and good night. Brilliant.